Perhaps we notice electricity most when we don't have any. On July 13, 1977, New York City experienced a blackout. For 25 hours, New Yorkers were without lights or elevators or alarms. Lightning had knocked out power lines north of the city, and the utility company's backup equipment malfunctioned.
It takes a lot to keep the electricity working, not just in machinery, but in manpower, and it costs a lot of money to maintain these systems. The utilities have to maintain their lines.
In the United States, 98% of homes and businesses receive power from a vast electrical system that is woven together with a web of power lines. A grid. These power lines are naked live wires, carrying 500,000 volts. It's up to the lineman to inspect and repair every part of the grid, usually without shutting down the power.
And Bill, I was going to start making a gradual left turn and start heading over towards the line.
One of the most daring techniques is used on very high voltage tension lines.
It's pretty dangerous, I feel, because you're mixing aviation with electricity. One, you're depending on the helicopter, everything mechanical to go right. If it goes wrong, you're going to drop out of the sky like a rock. If the lineman makes a mistake, you're going to vaporize.
These linemen and pilots work for Ag Rotors Incorporated. One of the few companies that attempts these high wire acts, Ag Rotors has the best safety record in the business. It's dangerous work that only a handful of people in the world are qualified to do. One of them is Spider Lockhart.
Because I'm going to put the hood over top of my helmet.
The dress required for the job is a lightweight suit of armor made of stainless steel thread.
We have a strap on the inside that ties to the pants, making an electrical connection between the pants.
Electricity follows the path of least resistance. In this case, the metal threads of the suit, rather than flowing into the body of the worker.
We're dressed in a stainless steel suit, fully conductive, fireproof, Nomex. Everything we have is fully conductive.
Have you ever walked through a hotel room with a certain pair of sneakers in the wintertime where you walk up to your hotel room door, reach over and grab the door, and you get a little zap on you? That's called static electricity. Basically, that's what I'm trying to eliminate from what I'm doing.
There's linemen all over the United States that are risking their lives every day to keep the power flowing.
The dangerous marriage between helicopters and power lines is made to save money and time. Repairs that take a conventional ground crew days, Ag Rotors completes in hours.
And Bill, we're just looking for the right structure number, and then we're going to have to probably turn back a span or two once we orient ourselves.
The lineman's life depends on constant communication between him and the pilot.
This is the span that we want. I'm going to go ahead and come down in between the two 500 kV lines, and we're going to find the damage location, and we'll get ready to start work.
We could actually get too close to a power line and a tree, and the electricity would arc amongst all of us, and we could actually short out the power line and destroy ourselves.
Both men know if the communication stops, something is wrong. It's a crucial fact that Spider Lockhart learned from experience.
As soon as I felt the voltage going through me from the mechanical ground that I had, I knew that I'd made a mistake. Sometimes it's a little bit late to figure out your mistakes, but I knew that as soon as I felt that. I had enough to know that it was killing me, and to me, I was screaming to the pilot to get me away from the wire, and he never heard a thing because I couldn't open my mouth.
The electricity stopped Spider's heart, but a coworker revived him, saving his life.
And I saw Spider laying across the platform, half on, half off, and I knew something was wrong. When the helicopter came in, I didn't even wait for it to land. I jumped up on top of it. I started cutting his body harnesses off of him. I closed his eyelids and I just started giving him CPR, and I worked on him a little over 3 minutes before I brought him back.
When Spider is suspended in air and therefore not grounded to anything, the electricity treats him as part of the wire and safely passes over his body and not through it.
If you were able to take a voltmeter, which measures voltage, and measure the voltage on that helicopter, it would be energized at 500,000 volts and anything on that helicopter.
The metal wand gives the electricity a controlled pathway from the wire to the helicopter. Once the pathway is established, the lineman replaces the electrical connection held by the wand with metal clamps. The clamps allow the lineman to free his hands so that he can work.
I was working in the middle of the Everglades, and I knocked the bond off, unbeknown to me. And when I went to get close to the wire, the arc went straight to my mouth. So I absorbed roughly about 500,000 volts to my mouth and my nose, blew all the fillings out of my mouth, cauterized my nose, knocked me out of my seat belt up underneath the platform, the belly of the ship on the platform. And I was unconscious, it seemed like, for a pretty long time, but it was just a few seconds.
The amount of voltage may be the first fact recited when explaining the dangers of electricity. But the high voltage isn't what kills a person, it's the amps. The electricity in the lines can flow at 500,000 volts, but isn't necessarily deadly if the amps are low. Real low. It only takes 1 amp to stop the heart. Think of the electricity flowing through wires as the flow of water. In a squirt gun, water is under pressure and moves fast, but to put out a fire, it's not the best choice. You need a fire hose that can move a whole lot of water. The water pressure is equivalent to voltage in electricity. The amount of water is like electrical current and is measured in amps. Electrical measurements are based on numbers of electrons. A light bulb, which uses 1 amp of current, has 16 quintillion electrons moving past a single point in the wire each second.